Hey, hello everybody. I'm sorry, something weird happened with my OBS. Hi everybody, welcome to CSS Escapism. So today, hi everybody in the chat. Hi Roland. I've seen your solution. I'm gonna talk about it later. So hi everybody in the chat, everybody that is joining me live. Hi to everybody that's seeing this recording. So let's jump in. What we're going to do today. Today we're going to do a progress indicator. Let's jump into the code. Actually, let me just set up my screen there for a second. I really need to get this out, and here, let's do this. Okay, so let's jump into the code, not into the code, to the browser. This is just, I did a Google search for progress indicator just to show a few images. So it's just something that shows the progress of a certain loading component, or maybe it's a loading page, or a specific component inside of the page. So it has a lot of ways that you can visualize it, either a line or a circle. We're gonna do something like this, like a circle today. And I actually done something. I've done this diagram a few weeks ago in this live chat. So actually, when I did it, I did it in a way that you can use it as a progress indicator. All you need to do is change this arc to a full circle, so like 360 degrees, and then you have a full circle that you can do like from 0 all the way to 100. So yeah, this is a nice 3D effect, but this is not what we're going to do today. What we are going to do today is this front-end challenge progress indicator by Piccalilli. If you don't know Piccalilli, it's a great website. It's by Andy Bell. My dog is making noises. It's by Andy Bell. This is why we have the Bell logo. He's also the founder of Set Studios, and he's a great guy. I met him in a conference, in a Smashing conference somewhere, and he normally does things right. So when he posted this challenge, I looked over it, and this is like the indicator that he wants us to do. He actually supply us with a Figma file. So this is when it's loading, we have the numbers and the line here that is moving, and when it's done, this is the done state. But he also added points to consider. Let's make it a bit bigger. Yeah, and those are great points. So let's get over read over them. So first of all, what is the experience going to be like when someone doesn't have JavaScript enabled? This is a great question. Normally people don't think about it. This is a great thing to think about. We're gonna talk about it later on. The second thing is, what technology is best suited for this component? Again, this is a great question. I'm going to talk about it in a second. And how can JavaScript and CSS obviously communicate well? Because, as I said, this component normally work when during some sort of a loading process. Okay, so we don't want to overload the JavaScript or to make it work too hard. We just want JavaScript to work as little as possible and have CSS do what it can do. He also added a few assets like the Figma, as I said. This is the fonts that he wants us to use, the space mono. He also added a few variables. So this is what we're going to do today. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, I'm reading the chat is here. If you have any comments, if you see typos, let me know. So let's actually jump into the code. And actually, before that, let's talk about this second question. What technology is best suited for this component? And so me being me, I obviously try to do it like as pure, as CSS heavy as possible. And I've done like a very just CSS version. And we are going to talk about it later on, but it's not the best, because when you're looking at something like that, because we have this this border or this stroke that is filling up, and we want to animate. I also want to animate this check mark. So this is really suitable to be an SVG. So today I'm going to do it as an SVG file, as an SVG animation, but I'm also going to show you later on my just CSS version. And Roland, I know around the chat, I've seen your solution. I know your solution is closer to the second solution I used, but it has some problems. Not your solution, my solution, or any CSS solutions, has some problems that I think SVG has like better handle on it. So now that we're kind of, and again, it's up to discussion, but I've decided to go on SVG. So let's go to our code, our code pen. I'm gonna copy this URL to the chat if you want to see it. If you want to see it live, I posted it. I hope it's posted. Let's check. Yes, it's posted. Okay, so all I have in the code right now is an empty SVG. It doesn't have anything in it, instead just the view box of 150, 150. In the CSS I have nothing, just the body. It has a min height, excuse me, a display and place item, just so everything is going to be in the center. That's it. We're starting from literally scratch. And if we go to the Figma, what we have here, let's talk about the pending thing right now. I have the base, which is just a circle. I have the progress, which is this is the arc. This is the circle that is filling up as the loading progresses, and the text, obviously. Okay, so let's add these three things. Actually, let's start with these two things. So here in the SVG. Here in the SVG, we're going to add a simple circle. And the circle has a radii of, so the size, let's go back to the Figma. The size of this circle is 132. Divided by 2, it's 66. So the radii is 66. Radius is 66. Yeah, we can already see it. Actually, before we're going to start it, let's add a class here. Let's work as we should. I'm just going to call it, yeah. Progress indicator. Okay, now let's give this progress indicator. Excuse me. So let's give it a width. It's 150 pixels. We can make it bigger later on, or smaller if you want. We can add an aspect. We don't have to because it's an SVG, but to make things right, ratio of 1, so it would be square. If you want to see it, let's make it just so we can see it. We can see this square right here. It's supposed to be yellow. Why isn't it yellow? Oh, because I misspelled class. Hey, chat. Okay, so this is our yellow square, and we have the circle inside of it with the radii, and let's say that the circle X is 75 because it's 150 divided by 2. So the center is 75, and the CY is 75. So now the circle is in the center. That's great. Let's give it a class of base, right? We have the base, and then we have another circle, and this circle is the progress. Hey chat, do you hear me all right? I hope you hear me fine. Okay, base, progress. Okay, so let's style them. Let's go here to the base. So the fill has to be none. Actually, I'm gonna move this fill because it's supposed to be none for all of the things inside of them. But let's add a stroke. And the stroke, actually I haven't copied. We have here this variable, so let's copy them because Andy was nice enough to set them for us. And this is the color of the base, color dark glare. So let's here, stroke var, and okay, this circle, but we're also gonna add a stroke width of 10. And I'm doing 10 because if we go to the Figma, we can see it's here 10 pixels. So that's okay, this is the base. Now we need the same thing for the progress circle, but the progress circle, the color is dark, right? So now we have, two circles, one on top of the other, but this dark circle, this progress, we need it to move, right? We need it to start at like 0 and then to grow. So there is a couple of ways to do it. One way to do it is by using a stroke dash array. So a dash array means if I'm gonna, I'm gonna comment out the base for a second because we don't want to see it. So let's say that the dash array for now it's 40. Okay, so what happened? So I'm gonna get a dashed stroke. So it starts here. This is the right is the angle 0. So this is always where it starts, and then we have 40 pixels on the circumference of the circle. So 40 pixels of stroke, then 40 pixels of nothing. Again 40, 40, 40, 40. And if I'll add, so if I change it like 140, so it would look like this. Oh, let's make it 80. 80. Yeah, okay, so it starts here, it goes 80 and 0, and it goes all the way to the circle. And if I have like two numbers, like 30 and 100, okay, so the first number would be the full, the stroke, and then the second number will be the gap. This is what, it's an array. You can add more numbers to this array. So what we can do, if this number, if the second number is very big, let's say 1,000, okay, so it starts here, it goes 30, and then we have 1,000 pixels of nothing, okay? So actually, we can go here, let's do an inspect. Here, this is the second circle, and if we play around with this value, so if it's 0, we won't see it, and if it goes bigger, so now the circle actually fills up. And this is the exact animation that we want. The only thing that we want to know is when the circle is full. So we're gonna wait just in a second, and it's this is full, 415. And it actually makes sense because if we do a little math, we said that the diameter of the circle is 132 pixels, and if you multiply it by pi, you get 415.6, so 414.6, so 415, that's actually very reasonable. So yeah, so what we're going to do now, here, let's say, so if it's 0, it's empty, if it's 415, it's full. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable of progress. So let's say 25. Okay, so 25 means 25%, right? So here I'm going to add a simple calc of this variable progress time 4.15 because it's a number between 0 and 100, and I want a number between 0 and 415, so I'm multiplying it. Excuse me. Progress 0. Yeah, so I'm multiplying the progress by 415. So now when it's 25, we have a quarter. If it's going to be 90%, so it's going to be almost full. Yeah, if it's like 1%, so it's right in the beginning. Yeah, and obviously 100%, we're going to see a full circle. Great. Let's get back to 25. Let's uncomment the base. Let's close the dev tools. Okay, but for now, it is working, but we can see that the starting point is in the right. And according to the Figma, the starting point is at the top. So we need to rotate this, the progress. So let's just add a simple rotate of minus 90 degrees. Oops, minus 90 degrees. And now it would disappear. The reason it disappeared is because if you're gonna look at it, so this is the first circle, the second circle is actually on top, because we're not working in HTML, we're working in SVG, and in SVG the default pivot point, or the default transform origin, is in the top left corner and not in the center like in HTML. So what we need to do is just set the translate origin to center. And now, and now we have it starting in the center. It's 25%. Let's see if it would be like 70%. So it would be like this. Looks okay. We can get rid of the yellow color, right? Oops. Okay, so this is the base and this is the progress. But now let's actually, as I said, this variable, this whole indicator is gonna be set. It's gonna be updated through JavaScript. So let's go to the JavaScript, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a simple variable. I'm going to call it progress. Let's say it's 0, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a very simple function that the function is going to update the indicator. Okay, so what this function is going to do is just take this the variable of this progress and gonna set it inside this CSS variable. Very simple. So in order to do this, let's get this progress indicator in our JavaScript. Let's query the document query selector. Okay, so I'm querying the document for this class, and I'm getting this element. Okay, so now I can take this element in my function. I'm gonna go to the style because I'm going to go to the CSS, and I'm gonna say set property, and I'm gonna set this progress property, where it is, this progress property here, to the value of progress. And that's pretty much that's it, because if we're gonna call this function, okay, so now it's obviously going to be 0, but if the progress is going to be 70, or let's say 60, so it's going to work. Okay, so as I said, this function, normally some sort of loading function we're going to call the update indicator, but right now we're going to want to do a simple mock. Let's do mocking progress calls. So let's do a function of mock progress. And what this function is going to do, and again, this is just a mocking function, so it's just going to take this variable, it's going to add a random number between 0 and 10, okay, and then update indicator. And what we need to do is to add a simple question that if this progress, okay, is less than 100, it means that the loading process is not ended yet, okay? So I'm just going to add a simple set timeout that I'm going to call this exact function again in, let's say, 1 second. So and obviously we need to call this function. And if I haven't forgotten anything, so now we're supposed to see, it's already moving. It's supposed to start at 0, not at 60. So now it started at 0, and it's slowly updating. We can change this number to a bigger number, so it would update faster, or by bigger instrument actually, or if we want, we can set this number, the timeout number, to a lower number, so it would just move faster. But for now, let's leave it like this. And actually, let's make it 20 for now. What I do want to add here in the CSS, just for a second, here in the progress, I want to add a transition, because we can, on the stroke dash array. Oh, okay. And I said there's a few methods, by the way, before, because most people, when they do it, they just have a constant dash array, and then they animate the dash array offset. We're going to look at it in a different in a different animation in a second. But here, this is just one method, and I want to have both methods. So here I'm just moving the dash array itself. So let's have a transition of stroke dash array, let's say half a second. So now, wait. Why isn't it moving? What have I forgot? Oh, yeah, okay, move. It's doing, okay, so now you can see that the movement is much smoother. It's not constant. And this is, by the way, one of the benefits of using SVG over a plain CSS solution, because when you're using CSS solution, you're probably going to use some sort of conic gradient, and you can't animate it. If you want to animate it, you have to use the hack, and this is why I'm using SVG. Okay, so we have this JavaScript. It's pretty much okay. Just one thing I want to say: the program. What I want to add is a math of min 100 comma because I don't want the progress to be any higher than 100. Okay. Great, so this is working. Let's talk about the text. And okay, I'm checking the chat. So let's talk about the text, excuse me. Again, the text, there is a few ways of adding the text. I can add the text as an HTML element inside my SVG. It's a possibility. I've explored it. I don't think it's the best here. The best thing to do is just use a simple text element that we have in our SVG. I'm actually going to put the text element here in the top. We're going to put it in the center, so the x 75 and the y equals to 75, just like in the circle, because I want it in the middle. And if I write something here, we should, well, actually we won't see it because it's white. So, okay, so let's go to our CSS. Oops, to our CSS, let's have a text. So the text, as I said, it's white. So let's make it black. So okay, so now we can actually see it. We need to change the font family to this. Where it is, font base. Okay, the font size is where is it? 32 pixels. And okay, so that's okay. Let's change it to like 25%, something that is more realistic. Okay, but it's not in the center right now, obviously. So what we need to do, let's so to center it horizontally, what we can do is just add a text anchor of middle, yes. And to align it vertically, we can use the alignment baseline to middle. Yeah, and if you think like it's too high or too low, you can actually just set the X and Y here. Like if you want to make it lower, just change the Y to 80. 78, I don't know why. Okay. So this is the text, but it's obviously not the text. I want the text to update as the line progresses, obviously. So we don't need here the 25. Let's make it empty. So let's go back to our JavaScript. Let's create another const. Instead of progress indicator, we're going to call it progress text. And we're not going to query the entire document. We're just going to query this element. We just need the text. So now I have this progress text. This is this element. So now we can say, and I can't say inner text again because we're not in HTML. What we need to do is text content. Oops, equals, excuse me. Text content equals, I'm going to use template literal of because I want to use a math round of the number. I don't want the entire number, including everything after the decimal point. So just the round number of progress percent. And yeah, with percent looks already nice. So yep. Okay, so if you're doing just a simple, like if it's on a page load and something, and once it's done, once in 100%, you go to something else. So that's it. That is all you need. But this challenge actually want us to add a done state. But before the done state, let's talk about this question. Let's talk about what is the experience going to be like when someone doesn't have JavaScript enabled. And this is a great question. So what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it. Let's go back here for a second. Oh, let's save it. Okay, and let's go back for a second because I want to open it in a debug mode. And back to presentation. Yeah, okay. So debug mode in CodePen, if you don't want it, this is one of the reasons I love CodePen. It's just your website clean, just the HTML, JavaScript, CSS, no add-ons, nothing. So now I can actually come here to the DevTools, and we can disable JavaScript. I never remember where it is, but we can search for it. Control-Shift-P, and let's just write JavaScript here. Okay, disable JavaScript. It's in the debugger. We can click on it, and once we click on it, we can refresh the page. Oh, wait a minute. You don't see my... Okay, you haven't seen this top bar. Oh. Okay. So as I said, I've went to here. Wait. In the DevTools, yeah, I've done JavaScript. Oh, it's already disabled. And once you're disabling it, you can refresh this page. And once you refresh this page, there's this little icon here. This little icon. So it means that there's no JavaScript. And if there's no JavaScript, you can see that this image is just static. We can actually see it because this progress. We don't need this here. Let's remove this. Save. Okay, so this is the experience of someone that doesn't have JavaScript. It's just a circle, okay? And this is not what we want to do. We want to, specifically not if it's like if we don't have JavaScript, so we can't load anything. So if it's interrupting our page or disrupting the experience somehow, we need to let the client know that the experience is not complete. So how to do it? Where was I? Here. Okay, so we can go to our HTML and to our SVG, and there is one thing that a lot of people use is just a basic no script element. Okay, but we're in SVG, so in SVG no script element won't work because it's an HTML element. But I'm just going to show you what I mean. Let's write no.js. Let's make it 1. I'm going to have another one of those. But here I'm going to say 2. Okay? And we're going to save it. And here we won't see anything because here we do have JavaScript enabled. So these are just, we won't see them. But if we go back to this display, to the debug mode, we're going to refresh. Okay, so you can see the Node.js2. This is the... Oops. This is this element, not this. Now. This is this element. This one is... Oops. Oh, this element. Okay? This is one that we are seeing because there is no JavaScript enabled. But we want to see it again as a part of the SVG. So how do we do it? What we need to do is just to add a simple foreign object. So, excuse me. So a foreign object is an element inside of SVG that allow you to put HTML elements inside of it. So now, if I'll save it and we go to the this debug mode, okay, so we still won't see it, but it's here. The reason that we can't see it right now is because the foreign object is 0 and 0, and it doesn't have any overflow allow. So let's go again. Here, let's, under the text, let's add a foreign object. And this foreign object, all it needs to get actually is just a width of 100% and the height of 100%. And hopefully, now let's do, okay, so now we can actually see that there is no JS. So we can actually set like any message that we want inside of it here, letting the user know that there is no JavaScript. We can obviously come here and style the no script, like add a color, let's say color red and font size of 2 EMs. I don't know. Again, and in the normal state, we won't see anything different, but if we're in a state that there's no JavaScript, so yeah, you can see you can actually style it. So this is one way, like if the loading part actually interferes your website, if you want to give the user a message, this is the way to do it. But I actually want to do another thing, because sometimes, okay, there's no JavaScript, there's no loading function, but it will happen sometimes. So what we're gonna do here, I'm actually gonna just remove this text, and I'm just gonna style the no script element itself. What I'm gonna do right here, okay, so first of all, let's give it a position absolute. So let's give this one a position of relative. Let's give it an inset of 4 pixels. Again, why 4 pixels? Because it's 150 pixels wide. It's minus 132 minus the width of the border divided by 2, so it's 4 pixels. Let's give it a border radius of 50%. We want it to be round. Let's have a border of 10 pixels solid, and the color, actually I'm not going to add any color, I'm going to make it transparent, because I want the border top color to be this dark color. And if I haven't forgot anything, again, let's save it, let's go to the non-JavaScript view. Okay, so now we have this little arc here on the top. Okay, we can make it bigger. Yeah, this little arc here on the top. Okay, so now we can actually animate it. So let's add a simple animation of no script. 1 second. I want it to run infinitely, linear, and the keyframes for the no script is just simple to rotate 1 turn. Okay, so again, in the normal state, when there's JavaScript, all of this code goes nowhere. Okay, but if we're in a state that there is no JavaScript, and I'm gonna refresh, now I have this rotating circle. Again, so what is the experience that we want to have when the user doesn't have JavaScript is up to you, and it's up to your component. There's a few ways. This is just one way to do it. Yeah, so back to our normal state. And back to in our normal state, let's talk about what's left. Oh, the done. Okay, done. This is the done state. Right now it looks okay. Once I restart it, yeah, it looks okay. We can make it bigger. Make it bigger. Okay. Okay, so what we want to do in when it reaches 100. So there's 2 things that we want to do. First of all, I want to change the background color of this base to green. And this is the reason, by the way, I put the text behind the circle, because I want the green to hide the text. I don't want to have any animation on the text. I can add an opacity or something to the text, but I'm just going to add a base a color to the base. So this is one, and the second thing is going to be to draw a checkbox. But the question is, how do I trigger those two things? Because there's a few ways. Obviously, in the JavaScript, we can do like a full-on new function of update indicator to done, or we can add like a simple another custom property that is done true. It's obviously one way. I'm just going to go to the simplest thing that I could think of, and I'm going to say that if the progress is equals to 100, so it's done, I'm just going to say that the progress indicator, I'm going to set it class list. I'm going to add a class, add a class of done. That's it. So now when it gets to 100, the progress element gets another class of done. So now we can style everything according to this class. So let's go here and we say that end done. Don't forget the end, because if it's like this, so it's a child, but we don't want a child. So end done. So what we want to do is, as I said, I want to change the color of the base. So let's change this base fill to we have a color here, right? Yeah, color success. Var color success. Okay, so now it would fill up, and oops, once it goes to 100, it's immediately green. But obviously we don't want it to be immediately green. We want it to transition to this green. We can also add an animation, obviously, but the transition is just easier. So all we need to do, where is it? Here. What we need to do is add a transition of the fill, let's say 1 second. Okay, so theoretically this is supposed to work, but it won't, as you see, because the transition is gonna move to this color, but it doesn't have any from. The from right now is none, and this is not going to work. So what we need to do is just change the fill to transparent. And now, if I haven't forgotten anything, come on, 50, 100, yeah, you can see the fade of this of the green. Okay, so the next thing is to add a checkmark. And we can add an icon, or we can use whatever, but checkmark is just 2 lines, so we're just going to draw them ourselves. We're just going to create a simple path, and in this path, let's give it a class of checkmark. And the path, I'm going to start at the center. The center, we said it's 75, 75, and I'm going to add a simple line of like diagonal down, so it's 20, 20. You can play around with the values, obviously. We won't see it, so let's actually go to the CSS now. Let's make it here. Check mark. I need the same stroke. Yeah, let's take this stroke. Check mark. We have this stroke. So why don't we see it now? Oh, dot checkmark. Yeah, okay, so this is the line that we draw. Okay, we started right here in the center, 75, 75, and then drew a simple line, 20 pixel right, 20 pixel down. So this is this line. And I'm going to add another line, 40 minus 40, so it's going to be diagonally up. Okay, so now this is it. We have a checkmark. But we do need to move it a bit to the left. Let's say like 30 pixels. Oops, no, not this one. Like 30 pixels to the left. Yeah, maybe down a bit, 78. Yeah. Okay, now we want to animate it. And I said there's two ways of animating strokes in SVG. Here we're gonna look at the second method, maybe, yeah. So let's add a stroke dash array, and again let's first of all let's understand what the length of this stroke. So let's have a very small number and a very big number. So now we will just see the beginning of the line. Yeah, it's this small line. Let's zoom in. Yeah, okay, it's this small line. And if we want to know what the length of the entire the entire stroke, we can just go to this. Oops. No, it's here in this path. We can just play around with this value, this CSS, this value here. It's here. We can just move it up until we get to the 85. 85 looks okay. So here, whoa. Okay, so here we're gonna say 85, and that's, yeah, okay. So again, we don't have anything because at 85 it fills out the entire stroke. So what we can add is a stroke dash offset, and when it's 0, it's the same. But again, let's go to our inspect so we can see what happened when we play around with it. And if I move this stroke offset down, you can see that the element, that it actually moves the starting point of the dash array. Okay, so if it's 0, it's like this, and if I go up, it moves. It actually moves the starting point to the beginning. So if it's 85, what we need to do is to set the offset to the same length as the dash array, so 85. And if we want to animate it, we're going to move it back to 0. So it would animate like this. Okay, so let's set the dash offset to 85. And here in the done, we can say the checkmark stroke dash offset to 0. Okay, so now it's supposed to work. Yep, but obviously we need to add a simple transition, and the transition of the stroke dash offset, it can be 1 second, or maybe we can do it. Let's see how it looks. Actually, let's make it faster, like 0.5, but we're going to add a delay of 0.5 seconds. So it would look, yeah, it looks okay. Let's save it for a second. Check that we haven't run anything in the non-JavaScript. It still looks okay in the JavaScript, and I think it looks great. We handled all of those things. The JavaScript does very little. The entire function. This is just the mocking. I'm not counting this. This is very simple. All the JavaScript does is just setting the progress custom variable and setting the text. We can actually set the text using the progress, but this is just easier. And on done, just add a class. The simplest that it can get. The HTML, the markup is very simple. We have a no script mode, and the CSS looks pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, before we end, I've told you that I've done another clean CSS version. Let's close this one, and it's actually this version. So this is not an SVG, as I said. This is closer to what Roland submitted that I talked about in the beginning. So the JavaScript is pretty much the same. I've done things a bit differently, but pretty much the same. The CSS, again, pretty much the same. The markup obviously is different because it's just divs and elements. But the main difference is obviously the progress. That the progress is getting filled with conic gradient. So So when you use something like that, you can see that it does work. It's not, you can't really animate it or translate it or move it, and not the check mark, not the circle, and there is ways to improve this version. I just didn't like it, so I stopped. You can see it's working. I don't think it's the best. I think doing something like that with SVG is much better, much faster, much easier. The SVG actually was meant to do those kind of things, and the nice thing is that the entire animation and everything, you can just put it inside of the SVG, and it's just simpler. Yeah. So I think that's it. Let's look at it again. Did I forget anything? I'm looking at my notes just for a second. No, I think I've got it all here. Just one thing, this white background is killing me. I just want to make it prettier. So let's add a simple background image of repeating linear gradient. Let's do, we're gonna do it very bright. We need 0 EE. So something like that will give us just stripes, and let's add like 60 degrees. So one reason I added it is just so you can see that while this the loading is loading, you can see that the background is transparent, which is just another advantage comparing to the CSS, because the CSS, when you because you use conic, so the center is actually filled with white color, so you can't put it on a different colored background. Here the background is transparent, which is again another benefit for using SVGs. So I think that's it. If you have any questions, I'm here in the chat still. If not, I'm in Twitter or anywhere. Look me up. Yeah, thank you for being here. I hope you learned something new. And thanks to Andy Bell for posting this amazing challenge. Go check Andy's website. That's it. That's all for me. Bye.